Hey guys, today I'm going to do a day in the life of a bookkeeper, and I chose one of my pretty simple and basic clients so that if you are just starting out as a bookkeeper and it seems intimidating, hopefully this will help you kind of have confidence and know that it's not as hard as it may seem at first. I'm Morgan from FinePoints.biz, and today I have my to-do list. You guys seem to really like my day in the life videos, so I'm going to try to do those every so often just so you can kind of get a sense of what a bookkeeper's day looks like. So I made a to-do list here that I'm going to kind of go through one by one and let you know what I'm focused on. So the main client I'm going to be helping today is a preschool. And so you can kind of see on my to-do list that the first 4 items are for this preschool. And it's a pretty small, well, I feel like maybe most preschools are about this size, but it's not a huge business. There's not a ton of transactions every month. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is categorizing and reconciling, and then I'm going to tell you about my receipt process, so how I match the receipts. And then I'm going to be writing a check for a reimbursement for one of the teachers. And then I'm going to show you about how the tuition, how we communicate about tuition with this client. All right, and then the other things on my list, some of them are more general items, but for example, I have to get a deposit book from someone, so I'll talk about that. And then I have to film 2 YouTube videos. So obviously you probably aren't going to be doing YouTube, but there are things in your business that you're going to have to do some kind of marketing or other tasks that have to do with actually running your business. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about that, and then clean up my email inbox and reply to YouTube comments, and then organize. I'm going to show you how I organize stuff in Asana. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy coming along with me today. So the first thing I'm going to do today is one of the really more basic things that you do as a bookkeeper, and that's categorize and reconcile. So I'm not going to show you my client's actual QuickBooks account, obviously, but I'm going to show you some screenshots of the sample company in QuickBooks, just so you kind of know what I'm doing generally. So my client's bank account is hooked up to QuickBooks, so all their transactions feed in, and so it's my job to categorize them. So I have other videos that talk about that. Maybe check out this one that talks about bank feeds. That kind of goes into more detail. But generally, you can see here that I can add a vendor. So they bought something at Target maybe, and it goes for classroom supplies. And in the sample company, I actually had to add those vendors because they weren't in there. You wouldn't have to do that every time if this was your normal client. And then once I have those in the right categories, then I add it, which means it's added to my client's QuickBooks. And then once I have all the transactions in there, then I can reconcile at the end of the month. So at the end of the month, you look at your client's bank statement and you make sure all the items in your QuickBooks actually matches what hit the bank account. So you can see here, I'm just kind of making up the total balance, and then within the reconcile function, you click on all the things as you're comparing it to the bank account, kind of check them off. And then at the end, this number at the top should equal 0, and that's how you know you're reconciled. That's how you know everything matches. And I just want to pause here and give you guys a little bit of a breakdown about this particular client, just to kind of demystify the whole profit and loss statement and what that looks like. So again, I chose this client because it's really simple and it's very manageable and easy to understand. I mean, all of us know what a school looks like, what kind of expenses that a school would have. So for most of my clients, after I reconcile, then I will send them a profit and loss statement. So usually I'll send it to the owner, or in this case, there's a board for the preschool. And I want to show you some of the categories that are in this particular client's profit and loss statement. These are all the categories within QuickBooks. And for nonprofits, I think you're always required to do a budget every year. So I'm going to just show you the budget breakdown for this school, and you can kind of see how I organize things in QuickBooks. All right, so you can see the income at the top. There's 5 classes, and this has changed a little bit with COVID-19, but usually we have 5 classes. We break out the income in each of those classes. So I'm going to talk more about that when I talk about the income breakouts later in this video, but you can see we kind of wanted to know how profitable each class was. So is the little kids class making more, or is the older kids class making more, or what time periods work best, or how full are the classes? So we like to track that kind of stuff. And then there's a couple other ways that they make income, registration, and then a couple after school classes. So these are all the income accounts, and this actually is a pretty robust amount of income and kind of breaking it out that much. And then for the expense accounts, I keep it pretty streamlined, pretty simple. So payroll is definitely our biggest expense. That's what we pay all of the teachers. And then we have field trips, and then some fees from where we're renting the building at a church, and then continuing education for the teachers if they need to take any classes, first aid classes or anything like that. Substitutes, bank charges, We had some savings, and so we had a big playground project. We redid part of the playground outside. So for that, that was just a one big time project that we worked on for 1 year. For that, I did create a separate account in the chart of accounts. You can see my video about chart of accounts here. And just so that we could track that, because that was a really big project that took like $50,000 or something. So we wanted to just really manage that and make sure that was very visible. So you can change these accounts anytime and just do what works best for your client. And then general repairs and maintenance and supplies of the curriculum is an account that I use very often for this client. The main thing that they buy most frequently is supplies. Payroll is our biggest expense, but supplies is probably the second most. All right, so you can see this was for last year. I had the actual spending for the previous year, what we had budgeted, and then how close we were to the budget. That's what all the columns represent. And then I also had the budget for next year, which is the current year that we're in right now. So this is what I did at the end of the school year. And that is another hint for you guys. This client, we don't do a normal January through December year. We do the school year, is their fiscal year. So in QuickBooks, you can set the fiscal year to basically whatever you want, but I set it to the school year. So it's like September through August or something. So it starts in September. And then every report I pull, it doesn't start at January because that wouldn't really be helpful. It wouldn't show the school year. It starts in September. So that is a tip for you guys if you are working with some kind of business that doesn't have a typical fiscal year. All right, next on my list is to match receipts. So I've just started in the last year or two getting this client on a better system for receipts. So before, the teachers would buy things with their own money and I would reimburse them with checks, with physical checks. So to kind of get us more into the current times and current systems, we got a debit card. We got 2 debit cards for 2 of the teachers. So they're able to buy things like on Amazon or something through their debit card, so they don't have to spend their own money. And then they're responsible for emailing the receipt to QuickBooks. So QuickBooks has it set up where you can create your own unique email address for your client. So I created an email address with like the name of the school, and then I told the teachers, every time you buy something at Target or Amazon or wherever you buy things, you need to email the receipt to this email address. And then that shows up in my QuickBooks account in the banking. If you go to banking and then receipts, all the receipts will show up there. So say they got supplies at Target. So once that Target shows up in my bank's feeds, I categorize it and I put it into QuickBooks. Then hopefully that receipt will match to the transaction. And then I can go through my receipt tab and click match, match, match. So that's in a perfect world. There are some kinks sometimes that need to be worked out. But that is my system to work with receipts for this client. And then if there's any receipts that are missing at the end of the month, you can pull a report and see what doesn't have a receipt attached. And then usually there's like 1 or 2 items, and I email it to the teacher and say, do you have the receipts for this, or do you know what you bought for this item? All right, so now I'm going to go through and do this with all the receipts. I'm going to figure out what receipts I have in QuickBooks already, and then send that report when I do not have any receipts. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is write a reimbursements check. So I let you know that previously all the teachers were always getting reimbursed for their personal expenses. This was kind of a special situation. It was the teacher that didn't have a debit card and she took a class. So she just paid with her own money. And so I need to write her a check for that and then get that to her. So I'm just going to write her a paper check. So I am a signer on our bank account for the client. So you need to go to the bank and actually get on the account when you first start out with that client if you want to be the one writing checks for them. If you don't want to be a signer, that is fine too. I've done it where I just prepare the checks in QuickBooks and print them off, and then the owner or another head of the department signs them, someone who is a signer. Or another way to do it is someone else is in charge of writing the checks and signing them, and then they somehow communicate to you what checks they've written. So regardless, in this case, I'm a signer, so I'm going to write the check to Allison. And then after I write a check, I'm going to go into QuickBooks and I'm going to record it in QuickBooks. In this case, it's not a huge deal because it's just like a small check for like $50 or something where it wouldn't drain the bank account. But generally in a business, you want to know how many checks are outstanding, how many checks you've written, because you could be writing thousands of dollars worth of checks, and then you need to make sure that you have enough cash in your bank account to cover all of them. So every time you write a check, you should record it into QuickBooks. So here I just go to the new check window. I put in her name and the amount and the date, and then save it into QuickBooks. And then this is waiting in here until Allison cashes the check. And then it's going to feed in through the bank feeds, and then it will match again. And I think I've said this in other videos as well, but there's that match function. So that does save a lot of work from you. You don't have to be entering things multiple times. So I've already put in like what category this is. It's continuing education. So when QuickBooks sees those two things, they should line up and everything will be great. All right, and the next thing I need to do for this preschool client is check the tuition breakdown. So like I mentioned on that profit and loss or that budget sheet, we track how much each class is making, so how profitable each of the classes are. So for this client, someone else is in charge of collecting all of the checks. That is a job that a bookkeeper could do. I know some preschools would send out invoices through QuickBooks, and then each family could pay online through QuickBooks, and then the bookkeeper would match what money was coming in to what was invoiced. So that is one way to do it. That's not how we do it. Again, as you can tell, a couple of my clients, and you might find this too as a bookkeeper, had systems that were a little bit antiquated, and I'm helping them kind of slowly move into more technology and different systems. But in this case, I'm perfectly happy not to have to invoice people, not to have to collect checks and take them to the bank. But what I do need is to know how much money came in and what it was for. So again, before this year, the teacher would just write down on a piece of paper what the breakouts were, but I just converted this to a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to show you a screenshot of this really quick. It's just a shared spreadsheet in Google Drive, and she can just go in and type the amount that each amount of money collected from each class. And then I think the bank wants her to report how much is in checks and how much is in cash. So I put different lines for each of those things. And then I did some totals at the bottom. So we don't have to, because before we were manually totaling things. So of course with Excel and with the technology we have now, it can definitely help you out and save you some time in these type of steps. All right, and so my process for this is just to open up the spreadsheet that tells me how much everything is. And then I go into QuickBooks and I look at the deposit. So I can see, there was like a $12,000 deposit. And then I click into that deposit and then I can split it up in there. There's a little button that says split. And then I can add each of those income categories and how much was for each one. And then that is in turn going to translate into the profit and loss statement, so we can check the profitability about those classes. All right, and the next thing on my list is to get this deposit book from a different client. So this is one that I talked about in a different day in the life video. I'll leave all my day in the life videos linked down below, because if you like this kind of video, you can check out that playlist. But basically, this deposit system is in the same idea as that Google spreadsheet I showed you, but it's actually written in a deposit book, and it shows how much money each person was making within the business. So they do billable hours, and then they like to track how profitable each person was, which is similar to how profitable each class is within the preschool. So unfortunately, I was not able to get that deposit book today, so I just need to leave this on my to-do list for another day. All right, next on my list is to film YouTube videos. So like I mentioned, you're probably not a YouTuber, but you do need to be doing something within your business to work on marketing or networking. You could be meeting with other bookkeepers or accountants. If you want your business to continue growing, then that probably will be something you spend some time on. For me, YouTube is taking up an increasing amount of my time just because I enjoy it. I like feeling like I'm helping other bookkeepers, and I like kind of like the teaching aspect of it. So I spend, I see about like 4 hours a week. It might be more than that, doing YouTube right now. And so it does take a while to like get ready, kind of set up the room. This room, just a note about this home office that I'm in right now. With the pandemic, my daughter's at home doing schoolwork. So it's super messy over there. I'll show you what it looks like. This is like a true behind the scenes shot. So it's super messy. I have my computer and she has like some of her school stuff. So it does take me some time to kind of like resituate, recalibrate the room when I need to work versus when she needs to be in here versus when I'm filming. So you'll see me kind of going through that process. After I film those videos, the next thing I'm just gonna do is just probably stuff that you guys do, that everyone does. So I need to clean out my email inbox. Doesn't it just feel so good to have that thing all cleaned out? Like it just like kind of hangs over your head. And I know some people probably never have a totally empty email inbox, and that's perfectly fine, like however it works for you, but I try to empty it like every week probably and get it to this base 0 number again, and it just feels so good. It's like a weight lifted off my shoulders when I have no emails left to take care of. Okay, so now I'm going to spend a little bit of time replying to YouTube comments. I do really appreciate your guys' comments. I love just hearing from you and where you're at in your bookkeeping business, as well as you guys give me literally the best ideas about new videos, because usually I'm getting like a similar question in different forms, so I can make a video about that and then point you guys to that video. Or sometimes it's a totally different topic I never would have even thought about, or it sparks a new idea in some way. So I really do like interacting with you guys in the comments. So definitely let me know in the comments right now, what stage of your bookkeeping business are you in? Are you already a bookkeeper? Have you been one for a while? Are you just kind of thinking about it and getting some more information about it? Let me know in the comments. All right, and the last thing I'm going to check off my to-do list today is to just look on my Asana to-do list a little bit. Again, in that behind the scenes video that I'll put up here, I talk about how I organize my YouTube videos and schedule in Asana, and I kind of go into detail about that. So I really do like this program a lot. You can see I have my to-do list prioritized and broken down into different categories. So this is a really easy way. And then I also have the app on my phone that I can use as well. So I can have it on the go, I can add things, I can check things off. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me today in my day in the life of a bookkeeper. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you like this kind of video. That helps me know what to make for you guys, and it helps this video be seen by more people. And then don't forget to subscribe. Did I already say subscribe? I don't think I did. So if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please subscribe to my channel. I do videos for bookkeepers every single week. All right, thank you so much. Bye.